push for ICAC and whistleblowers legislation this session. President defends ABG. And Treasurer says debts will be settled.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Monday's news. The Marape-Stephen government has continued to emphasize its focus on combating corruption. Prime Minister Marape says the government will be pushing for the passing of the Independent Commission Against Corruption Bill and whistleblowers legislation within this current session of Parliament.
The ICAC bill is one that has taken several years to table. It is intended to be an independent constitutional body that will have powers to investigate, arrest and prosecute cases of corruption both in the public and private sector, working alongside law enforcement agencies. Speaking to MTV News, Police Minister Brian Kramer explains that while the bill will allow whistleblowers to report any allegations against any one person, police will still carry out standard policing procedures based on sufficient evidence provided.
Evidence will decide on whether someone gets arrested or not. It is based on evidence. If individuals believe that they have been arrested on bogus charges or malicious prosecution, then they have every right to go to court and seek redress in the courts by seeking a permanent injunction. But they then have to provide evidence to demonstrate that their arrest is politically motivated without any basis of evidence.
Explaining further the workings of an evidence-based case in court.
And the court establishes there is sufficient evidence, then it will commit that case to the national court on serious offences. And during the national court proceedings, there will be a trial, and the accused gets to question and cross-examine the evidence against them.
Despite the bill's purpose and objective to improve governance and step up on the fight against corruption, the efforts on bureaucracy, especially in regards to the whistleblowers legislation, has been disappointing, with the National Executive Council still awaiting the legal clearance from respective officers responsible, which is a current concern. According to the Attorney General, there needs to be urgency in ensuring these legislations are completed, with the bureaucracy urged to ensure that they are in tune with the government's efforts.
This week's Parliament, the Prime Minister has announced that we will be pushing for the passing of the ICAC legislation and also the whistleblowers. And this will improve governance and step up on the fight against corruption.
Annette Cora, National EMTV News.
Solely depending on the cash flow in government, 380 million kina is the appropriated budget for police this year. That's 40 million kina less from the initial budget request of 420 million kina. Police Minister Brian Kramer says the department welcomes the appropriation, adding that the money will go to areas which require the most impact and improvement of policing nationwide.
And so depending on cash flow for the government, we welcome this. The initial budget request was 420 million. Unfortunately, it was approved only, appropriated for only 380 million. We now had regular meetings each month to ensure that money is spent wisely and cutting out corruption. So that's in supply of fuel, vehicles, maintenance, salaries. We're now, through the administration of the Commissioner, cleansing our payroll for the police and making it more professional, efficient and effective.
The national government is optimistic of settling its debts despite cash flow issues. Treasurer Ian Lingstaki says the 1 billion kina loan from the Australian government will cushion debt levels within and outside of the country. The Treasurer also announced that warrants will not be signed unless there is visibility on the availability of cash.
Speaking at the Treasury office, the Treasurer admitted the tussles of the Marape-Stephen government in repairing and building the country's economy. He says the government has prioritized to pay huge bills, or what he described as priority bills. Treasurer Lingstaki says government loans or infrastructure contracts is one. These were loans acquired by the previous government.
The point here is it's just a big amount and government needs to pay its dinner. Agree, everyone? Yeah, and that's common sense for you and I. And you'll say, well, why haven't governments done that in the past? Well, there's political considerations, as we have when we come to money.
With a 4.6 billion loan deficit faced by the ruling government, Treasurer Lingstakis says there is money in the country, but it has not been collected through levies and tax. However, for the 1 billion sought through the Australian government, 552 million is for personal emoluments. About 800 retired public servants are included. According to the Treasurer, 120 million kina will be saved once that is paid off.
We need to pay them out because the ones that have reached 65 years of age, they're in the pool, not doing much, they're in retirement, but at the same time we still need to pay 120 million on a wage bill. Yeah, so if we pay them out, we save the 120 million.
The Treasurer also announced strict measures taken by his department to tighten up expenditure records. He announced the monthly signing of warrants unlike previous years. Treasurer Lingstakis says this is to manage cash flow.
Again, I've issued instructions to my department. There are a number of steps to follow, one of which includes a cash position before I sign the next one. But it's not so simple because now public service wages are due next week. They're going to want me to sign another warrant for 300 million.
He reiterated that all these are efforts to help repair the budget going forward. Jack LaPava Jr., National EMTV News.
The autonomous Bougainville government has today called for the Ombudsman Commission to retract a statement issued last week relating to current proposals for amendments to the Bougainville Constitution. According to ABG President Chief John Mommis, the Commission's media release has the potential of sending wrong signals to the public that the ABG and Bougainville House of Representatives are on a path of not complying with the National Constitution, a claim which the President has denied. Over the past month, the autonomous Bougainville government has made known its intention to put forward several proposed amendments to the Bougainville House of Representatives. These amendments to the Bougainville Constitution seek to, among others, allow for a president to serve more than 2 terms, which would see current President Chief John Mommis allowed to contest this year's ABG elections for the position of president yet again. Last week, the Ombudsman Commission released a statement calling on the ABG to strictly follow process and procedures when embarking on constitutional amendments. The Commission highlighting 3 proposals: amending Section 89 of Bougainville's Constitution to allow for an extension of the President's term, amending Section 89 of Bougainville's Constitution to allow for an extension of the President's term to more than 2 terms, an amendment to allow for the establishment of 3 seats for former combatants, and a change of name from Autonomous Bougainville Government to Bougainville Constitutional Transitional Government. Today, the head of the ABG, President Chief John Mommis, issued their statement in response to the Ombudsman Commission. Whilst acknowledging the media statement from the OC, President Mommis clarified the proposed amendments, including the membership of former combatants to the House of Representatives and to Section 89 of the Constitution in relation to the election of Bougainville's president. The ABG president has denied assertions that the ABG and House of Representatives are on a path of not complying with the national constitution. President Mommis further calling on the Ombudsman Commission to retract its statement. The Papua New Guinea Electoral Commission expects to conduct a day's polling in Menyamia district as they prepare for the by-election voting. Returning officer Nande Awape said they still don't have the funds for the by-election, but they have allocated 136 teams to all the ward areas.
The Provincial Electoral Office is moving forward with the Menyamia by-election despite the lack of funds. It still hasn't received the 6 million kina requested to conduct the by-election for a seat left vacant with the passing of Thomas Pelika. But that didn't stop candidates from arriving this morning for the nomination process.
2 so far nominated, and finally this morning 1 came and nominated. So for minimum by-election we already have 3 candidates.
Menyamia is an important seat. Its numbers have always been a decider for the Morobe provincial governor's seat. The new MP will be in office for a little over 2 years, too short a time to make any political difference. But the parties are looking at a broader strategy to secure at least 1 additional number before the 2022 general elections. And this afternoon, the People's Party, led by Jiwaka Governor Dr. William Tonga, announced their candidate. Nolan Nelson says his focus will be on improving the rundown state of health, education and roads, a mammoth task to be done in 2 years.
I have been in the electorate. I was in the electorate for the past 27 years. I have seen many of the basic government services have run down.
But unfortunately, there are few electorates and provinces in the country, like Miniama, which are greatly affected by the road conditions up there, that's cutting off many other services that can flow if we had good road systems.
Members of the Electoral Commission are not in the district during the nomination period, but the teams will be on the ground before polling happens. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Leh.
This is National MTV News. We'll be back with more right after these messages. Welcome back to the news. The National Court in Port Moresby has dismissed Madang Governor Peter Yama's application seeking a court order to prevent police from conducting investigations into allegations against him dating back to 2017. Instead, the special court sitting held yesterday advised Yama to make himself available to police for questioning.
A special court hearing yesterday by Justice Colin McKyle had dismissed an urgent application by Governor Yama to stay police investigations involving allegations of bribery against the Madang governor. The urgent application filed at the Waigani National Court comes weeks after police officers in Madang were trying to effect an arrest on Yama. Last week, he was asked to go in for questioning by police in Port Moresby. However, he raised allegations that Police Minister and Madang MP Brian Kramer was behind the move to have him questioned.
I want the Attorney General to give us a background of how indictable offence of a case related to election petition under the organic law happened to become a criminal issue, and the policeman is chasing after me. One, can I need some clearance on this, Deputy Prime Minister? Secondly, is it right for the policeman to come into the prison of the Parliament to accept documents and invitation to the Police Commission's office?
The Madang MP, who was not in Parliament when Yama raised these allegations, visited MTV office the next day and had this to say.
Regarding scandalous comments made by the governor for Madang, directed to me, in particular raising issue over my citizenship, accusing me of being the most dangerous man in PNG. There's also issues relating to his planned arrest or request actually from the Commissioner for Police. Police were giving him a letter. On the issue of my citizenship, I'm happy to produce my birth certificate to confirm that I was in fact born in Madang, PNG, and confirming without doubt of my citizenship. On the issue of being the most dangerous person in PNG, I would only expect that comment in the context of someone being corrupt. If you are corrupt, guilty of corruption, then I could understand they would consider me the most dangerous person in Papua New Guinea.
Meanwhile, Governor Yama is yet to present himself to police as per the advice from the courts. Thekla Gunga, National MTV News.
The University of Natural Resources and Environment expects to see an increase in its student enrollment compared to previous years. A total of 1,004 students will be enrolled this year. This will be the first time for the institution to see that amount of students since its establishment in 1965.
The University of Natural Resources and Environment will see an increase in the number of students this year, a milestone for the institution since its establishment 55 years ago. This comprises 383 first-year students, 262 second years, 185 third years, and 174 final year students studying various agricultural courses. UNRE has also been a hive of student unrest since 2015. Numerous student boycotts have been staged by the student body following dissatisfaction over tuition fees, lack of learning infrastructures and courses, and students' academic results. But this year might be different as there are much anticipation following new developments over the last 12 months. Dr. Pongi Kichawan has been appointed as the new Vice-Chancellor of the university in November last year. Dr. Kichawan has replaced caretaker Vice-Chancellor Dr. James Yoko.
I'm very thankful that the job has just begun. We came in with the leadership of former Vice-Chancellor James Yoko. We set the foundation. All the plans are already on foot, and we are put it into motion.
Meanwhile, a new School of Environment and Climate Change has been established and will take in its first lot of students this year. These new changes has further strengthened the university's expectation of rebuilding the institution back to its glory days as one of the reputable agriculture universities in the Pacific region. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
According to the World Health Organization, one employee with tuberculosis can lose an average of 3 to 4 months of work and income, resulting in a potential loss of up to 30% in annual household income. TB is Papua New Guinea's biggest infectious disease killer. Recently, Remington Group joined forces to help fight TB in rural townships around the country.
Remington Group has joined forces with Businesses for Health to fight TB in rural townships across the country with a commitment of 120,000 kina. Remington Group CEO Peter Goodwin says they will be working closely with Businesses for Health to ensure the sponsorship is targeted, relevant, and focused toward the training of workplace champions who can impart the knowledge they learn within their organizations and communities. The funding will enable Businesses for Health to extend its awareness and prevention efforts outside the National Capital District and Morobe Province.
Our efforts don't just stay here in Port Moresby. While 6,000 of the 37,000 cases of TB last year were here in Port Moresby, 37 minus 6 is 31,000 remain in other major centres around Papua New Guinea.
The sponsorship will enable the delivery of TB workplace training courses to ensure workplaces are able to use TB treatment pathways that maximize early detection, efficient testing, and treatment compliance.
We advocate that people learn and take very seriously understanding being good consumers of health services, and that requires workplace education. So learning to access free TB services is one of the things that we promote.
TB is Papua New Guinea's biggest infectious disease killer and caused up to 4,700 deaths last year and 37,000 new cases, which included 2,000 drug-resistant cases.
In 2020, we expect at least another 37,000 cases of tuberculosis P&G.
Lilian Sopera-Kenea, National EMTV News.
The Lae Urban Local Level Government recently lifted the temporary closure of operations of One Bill Industries to resume following tests carried out on One Bill alcohol products. The One Bill factory in Lae was temporarily closed by the Lae City Council Environmental Health Officers following public complaints of alleged implications associated with the consumption of One Bill alcohol products during the Christmas and New Year period. Lae City Manager Joel Collam said the second test from the National Analytical Lab in Lae shows that the One Bill products were not the cause of any alcohol implications as alleged.
The One Bill alcohol factory in Lae was told by city health authorities to stop operations for an indefinite period for not complying with government regulations. These followed complaints from members of the public in Lae regarding the effects and damages caused by the alcohol. The EMTV crew in Lae visited the factory with health authorities last month and found out that the company had not completed all legal processes in order to produce and trade alcohol. Upon MTV's initial investigation, the LULLG Health Authority requested for a second lab test from the National Analytical Lab at Unitec in Ley, which shows an increased percentage of alcohol compared to what was labeled on the product. However, the NAL analysis does not show the volume of the product sample.
Investigation, the alcohol percentage was low, meaning it's fine,
The uplift of the temporary closure notice of the operations of the Bougainville factory by the Ley urban local level government depends entirely on the second lab test result of the Bougainville products from the NAL and the medical report from Engau Hospital Emergency and Accident Unit, which shows data for the months of November and December last year, when the Bougainville product came into market and when it was alleged to have been consumed in excess during the festive season. According to the report, almost 7,000 cases were seen at Engau's Emergency and Accident Unit in the last 2 months of 2019. The report shows that there were more than 300 trauma cases related to alcohol consumption for November to December 2019, and alcohol-related deaths were 5. The report is unable to state which type of alcohol was ingested because the hospital's data recording system doesn't have a space for such a variable but recorded on verbal history.
The beer is a beer. People can come and drink. The beer can go together with homebrew. There's social effects. There's many things happening, and that is why it's causing one problem causing at least to another one. So when we want to talk about one bell, we have to especially speak about one bell. And when we talk about social issues, social issues compounded with so many things.
Ley residents raised this concern of the Bougainville product of its effects and causes to them and the communities, but this was ignored by the authorities. The concern of the same product was also brought to the attention of the Ley MP, who suggested a ban to the Bougainville product, but this was not done. MTV's investigation also shows that the health officers of LULLG failed to perform some of their tasks before issuing the trading license, which they claimed was due to a funding problem. Without conducting an independent lab test to the product by the Ley Urban Local Level Government Council, City Manager Joel Kolam went ahead and cleared way for the factory to resume operations. Julie Badui Owa, National MTV News, Ley.
This is Monday's news. We take another break. When we return, we bring you stories making headlines overseas. Welcome back to National MTV News. 50 laptops were given out to winners of a major nationwide back-to-school promotion by Stop & Shop, City Pharmacy, Prouds and Jacks of PNG. The draw was made last Thursday, and the presentation of laptops to Port Moresby winners was done this morning at Stop & Shop, Waigani Central.
City Pharmacy Limited group of companies, Jacks of PNG and Prouds, this morning put a smile on 14 parents' faces with their 2020 back-to-school winner laptop promotion. These 14 parents walked away with brand new Lenovo laptops fully equipped with the latest software and programs. When interviewed by MTV, some said they want it for their children, while others said they want it for their grandchildren.
CPL I've been a customer for CPL for the last couple of years, and it's an honor to be part of this promotion, and it's a great win for my grandson who's learning his ABC, so I guess it's a big plus for him to be owning a laptop of his own now.
So I entered 3 times, so I was surprised when they called me on Friday, but I thank CPL and Stop & Shop for giving this opportunity to win.
Each of the parents thanked CPL and its partners for giving back to their customers. Ben Kimale, who spent 600 kina buying perfumes for his children and himself at Prouds, was also happy to be a winner. All 50 winners, including those from outside Port Moresby, were presented with their laptops today. Stop & Shop marketing manager Regina Narakobi says there were a lot of entries both in Port Moresby and outside centres. Ms. Narakobi says this is one of the biggest promotions CPL has done, and the company plans to have more of the same.
Yes, it's a good promotion. We received a lot of entries, over 50,000 entries from Port Moresby alone. From the outstation also, they received quite a lot of entries. A lot of customers are really interested in the promotion because it's back to school, and laptop is the main equipment people use for their daily basis, school work or personal use too. We have a really good, exciting promotion coming up in April, so we want our valued customers to keep on shopping at any CPL stores for a good promotion and win something good.
Michelle Stephen, National MTV News.
Turning overseas now, citizens of Australia and New Zealand are requesting their governments whether they will be evacuated from a quarantined cruise ship. 11 Kiwis have been trapped on a vessel in a Japanese port for nearly 2 weeks amid mounting coronavirus infections. But facing further quarantine back in New Zealand, at least one of the New Zealanders on board isn't happy about the rescue plans.
A nearly 2-week cruise from hell drawing to a close.
But we're on a plane, and that's a good feeling.
This rescue mission by the US government returning around 400 Americans back home. Around 40 Americans who tested positive for coronavirus left behind. It's an operation the New Zealand government's keen to repeat. Piggybacking on an evacuation plan being formed by Australia, set to include the 11 Kiwis still on board the Diamond Princess.
Given our numbers are relatively small, that they have said yes, they would be happy to accommodate 11 New Zealanders if they are to confirm an assisted evacuation. But
one passenger from Auckland is frustrated our government's waited so long, 12 days after their quarantine started.
I mean, if they did want to rescue us, they could have done it from day one rather than wait for so many days to go past,
Before leaving the vessel, everyone will need to test negative for the virus. That could take days. Upon arrival back in New Zealand, they'd need to be placed in quarantine for a further 2 weeks.
If you look at the risk to people on that ship, there's about 10% of people have been diagnosed with coronavirus. So that's actually, in some respects, a higher risk even than people coming out of Wuhan or Hubei. So in our mind, there's no doubt that we would have some form of supervised quarantine.
And actually, I totally disagree with that. I mean, we've been here for so long. We've almost done with our quarantine period.
While there are fresh cases of people testing positive for the virus, despite never travelling to China, the number of infections coming out of Ground Zero is slowing. China now reinforcing a lockdown in Hubei province, ordering millions to stay home.
The proportion of severe cases has dropped significantly, which means the national efforts against the epidemic have shown results.
A glimpse of good news as those aboard the Diamond Princess wait for an action plan.
Global anxiety and fears over the coronavirus outbreak have certainly turned into hostility towards many people. CNN's Natasha Chan shows us a few disturbing examples.
Around the world, the coronavirus has elicited legitimate concern, but along with that, a dose of racism. This week in Plymouth, Indiana, this person at a Super 8 denied a room to the 2 Hmong men filming this video.
If you're from China, I need to know.
Because why?
Because there's a coronavirus going around, and anyone from China, I am told, has to be picked up and quarantined for 2 weeks.
Actually, it's people returning to the U.S. who have traveled to China's Hubei province recently, not just anyone who may look Chinese. Wyndham Hotels, who franchises Super 8, said they're deeply troubled and that there is no corporate policy denying rooms to guests who are Chinese. Aside from denial of service, people are reporting incidents of verbal abuse.
I said you dropped your coronavirus.
And physical attacks. The New York Police Hate Crimes Task Force is asking the woman wearing the face mask in this video to report it for a full investigation. The person who recorded this says before the camera started rolling, the man had hit the woman on the head, used expletives, and called her diseased. She says the video then shows the woman chasing the man who turned around and attacked her. She says the initial conflict seemed to be over face masks, commonly used in Asia long before the coronavirus as a preventative measure, not a sign that the person is necessarily sick. On the LA subway line, this man was ranting.
Every disease has ever came from China, homie. Everything comes from China. It's a Disgusting.
Tani Durapapasuk told CNN the man was looking at her before she started recording and believes she was the only person of Asian descent on the train.
They could be so smart and be like, oh, yeah, I'll develop this, I'll develop that. But like, yeah, you can't even wipe your ass.
She says she went home that night and didn't realize until she looked online that around the world there were other reported cases of racism connected with the coronavirus.
Just touched me in a way. It made me realize how big this is, and that what happened to me definitely is not unique. What happened to me is not the worst that it can be.
Friends of British TV presenter Caroline Flack, who took her own life, are condemning the way she was treated by the tabloids and on social media. It comes as the number of Kiwis complaining about online bullying has more than doubled in the last 2 years, with a record high last month.
The return of the Flack.
As a television host, Caroline Flack lived a life watched and critiqued by many. Friends today unable to hold back their grief and anger.
Anyone who's ever compared one woman against another on Twitter, knocked someone because of their appearance, invaded someone else's privacy, who have made mean, unnecessary comments on an online forum need to look at themselves.
UK politicians backing a petition calling for law changes to better regulate social media and the tabloid press.
It wasn't just social media, it was the media amplifying what social media was doing.
Incidents that we've seen get out of hand online have been inflamed by the media.
Well-known Kiwis copping a lot of online abuse too.
Horrific, vile comments allowed to be out there, and not everyone can handle it, not everyone can laugh it off, and especially our younger people who are far more vulnerable. I'm really angry that we are not protecting them enough.
Last month, NetSafe recorded its highest ever number of complaints about online content, nearly 300. It backs up an alarming rise, statistics showing 2,000 complaints in 2017. That more than doubled to nearly 5,000 last year. While the 2019 figure includes 600 cases related to the Christchurch terrorist attack, many of the complaints were because of online harassment.
New Zealand has better protection than most countries. We have a law called the Harmful Digital Communications Act that targets specifically people being abused and harassed online and provides resolution. So we just got to use that better.
NetSafe believes more people need to lodge complaints.
What do we do about it? I don't know. We just keep talking, keep the message out there that it's not okay, and calling people out.
A bid to keep those both in and out of the spotlight safe.
This is Monday's News. We go for another break. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with football. Hekari United suffered a setback on Sunday after their most senior player in the team, David Muta, was penalised with a red card, which left home team Hekari United with only 10 players for the remaining 30 minutes of the match. Hekari did manage to hold back their opponents, Eastern Suburbs FC of New Zealand, from scoring against them with only 10 men.
Here they are, Percy, MRDC.
Hekari United will have a tough task on Wednesday when they face defending OFC champions Yengene Sport. Hekari lost focus in areas of their match yesterday, allowing their opponents, who are debutants in the OFC Champions League, Eastern Suburbs AFC, a win. Hekari needs to organize their backline after the 2 goals scored by Martin Bueno were too easy. The first one saw Bueno clearly unmarked.
But I think everybody is onside. Redrag with a chance, Martin Bueno!
The second goal came in similar fashion, this time a communication breakdown by the Hekari backline, resulting in Bueno to again get a clear shot right in front of the goal mount.
Sabes with a chance. Bueno! Another goal!
Hekari managed to get a goal from Kolukepo, but the overall concern by coach Jerry Allen is that Hekari lacked the ability to capitalize on all opportunities they had.
Many important thing for us for the next game is we need to finish, especially up front. We have chances, we finish.
One major factor that caused Hekari some distress was the red card to their most senior campaigner, David Muta. The midfielder was dealt a red card after his attempted tackle. A second yellow, which is an automatic red card. This seriously affected Hekari's game.
The game was really good, but the turning point is when they sent David Muta. I think the referee is not fair to us, honestly. That's what I saw. If the Muta still play, then I think we're still okay.
Coach Jerry Allen commended his boys' efforts on stopping a quality side from piling on more points during the absence of David Muta.
Then we go down 10 men, we have to defend hard, then we have to attack hard, but play against Eastern Service well-organized team, but that's football.
Muta will miss Wednesday's match, but will return to face Galaxy FC on Saturday. Felix Sukina National, EMTV Sports.
The Rugby League and the ID24 Rugby League competition was on a 2-year hiatus due to no sponsorship. This year, with the help of businessman Derek Mara, they were able to revive the tournament. The tournament began the playoffs yesterday at Tarama Barracks.
The ID24 Eastern Highlands Rugby League tournament was revived through the sponsorship and support of Eastern Highlands businessman Derek Mara. Mara approached the tournament directors and officials to organize the tournament, which kicked off last year.
But beginning in Eastern Highlands yet, I'm looking players, I'm struggling to Pablo again. Now, for that one, work making, now I'm coming inside, I'm supporting me. One time, 100,000 5 years, we get big players.
The off-season tournament has produced many players who have moved on to play in the Intercity Cup, with a few representing the Kumuls. They have plans to affiliate with PNG RFL and also take part in other sanctioned matches and competitions.
No off-season, and by go formal, then you are looking at this cup competition, this club or this league, and by putting one black team. As long as I start by putting one black team, and way forward.
The ID24 Eastern Highlands NCD competition began their finals playoff yesterday with the top 8 teams. Elijah Lavette, National, EMTV Sports.
Don't go anywhere, we'll have more of Trukai Sports when we return.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To some sport abroad, and the annual NBA All-Stars game today was less about the scoreline. It was more about paying tribute to the late Kobe Bryant. The sport's biggest names came together today in Chicago to help celebrate his career with plenty of Kobe Bryant-like highlights.
A start to an All-Star game like we've never seen before. 8 seconds of silence. All the game's megastars coming together, with the man often regarded as the LA Lakers' greatest ever leading the way.
Kobe Bryant.
The NBA confirming today's MVP would win the first ever Kobe Bryant trophy. They might have got that right, but officials are being panned for picking Chicago local funk queen Chaka Khan to sing the American national anthem. The game ended up really being secondary, with a host of new rules to mix it up, including resetting the score at the end of each quarter. There was also no game clock at all in the fourth quarter, just first to score 24 points, Kobe's old number. Defence was flimsy in a game all about offence. Plenty of highlight reel material, with teams making sure in the end the scores were close. The big names of the Superstar game certainly putting on a show, even firing up near the end when an actual result was on the line. After 300 points, it came down to a gimme free throw for new Lakers star Anthony Davis. It's over 30 years since the last All-Star game was played in Michael Jordan's backyard. Today will be remembered more for the tributes to his late rival, Kobe Bryant.
To cricket, and Gary Stead's holiday is officially over, and he's still surprised by all the reactions. The Black Caps coach is back in the team, building up for the first test against India after his much talked about time off, which wasn't really that well publicised to begin with.
Back from a break he never thought would cause so much angst.
I was really surprised.
Gary Stead, the subject of plenty of criticism during a week-long pre-planned time away from the Black Caps. A week during which he watched from afar as they bounced back from the T20 series sweep to whitewash India in the ODIs under the guidance of bowling coach Shane Jurgensen.
I was really pleased the way that Shane and the team went about their business. The way the guys played was fantastic. They obviously played with confidence.
And Stead seemingly has no regrets about the time away, although he admits the backlash from the public, media and even former New Zealand captain Jeremy Coney did take some fun out of it.
It was good to spend time with the family, I know that. Look, I had 4 or 5 days off and I've been back at work planning for this test series now, so again, they're distractions that don't need to be there.
Now though, it's back to business, naming a 13-man squad for the 2 tests, a squad seeing the dropping of Mitchell Santner for Ajaz Patel and Matt Henry for Kyle Jamieson.
Been a crazy kind of last couple of months really, going to Aussie and then with the one-day stuff as well, so look, just a massive privilege to be in the group.
Jamieson's inclusion continues a rapid rise following his 3 wickets in the ODIs. He says a move to Auckland from Canterbury has given his career a huge boost from a few years ago when he didn't like the person he was on the park.
There's a bit of negativity surrounding myself and that environment, and that was coming out of my behaviour on the field, so I had to sort of look at that and say, right, well, I want to be happy off the field, and I want to make sure that I'm getting better every day.
And Jamieson will be even happier if he can make an impact in a potential test debut in the coming weeks.
And that ends Trukai Sports for this evening. When we come back, we take a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Fine becoming cloudy for Alotau, mostly fine in Port Moresby, Daru and Popondetta. Cloudy weather and some showers expected in Kerma. To the Mamasa region, fine becoming cloudy later on for Lae and Wewak. Cloudy weather and some drizzles expected in Wau. Cloudy weather and some showers in Madang, mostly fine in Vanimore. To the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine over the next 24 hours in Lorengau. Cloudy weather and some showers expected in Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Buka, and cloudy weather and some showers as well in Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka and Kundiawa can expect partly cloudy weather over the next 24 hours. Mostly fine in Mendi and Wabeg, and all these major centres to expect early morning fog developing.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
And that's the way it is today, Monday the 17th of February 2020. On behalf of the news team right around the country, pleasant viewing. Good night.